Good morning, my name is Priya and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about why I started this channel and how I cured myself of endometriosis. So I was diagnosed with endometriosis about 5 years ago, and at the time I was working full-time as a solicitor, and endometriosis made it very, very difficult for me to carry on with my usual day-to-day activities. I had frequent severe abdominal pain, bleeding between periods that drained me of energy, severe bloating every time I ate were some of my symptoms. And I know that a lot of women who suffer from endometriosis can relate to what I'm saying. So in the UK, 1 in 10 women of reproductive age have endometriosis, I learned. And worldwide, the number is supposed to be 10%. So that's a lot of women have endometriosis, and it's somehow not well known, even though the condition is quite common. I think it's because it's considered a woman's issue. Certainly in my workplace, where I worked with only men, and I couldn't really talk about it. And I think even in other workplaces, it's not something that women find it easy to talk about. Here in the UK, the doctors mainly recommend two solutions when you're diagnosed with endometriosis. One is to have hormonal therapy, and the other is to have surgery. So what endometriosis is when every cycle the woman's uterus thickens, in the interior of the uterus thickens in preparation for a baby, and every month when there is no pregnancy, the lining comes loose and it goes off as a period. But when you have endometriosis, there is a hormonal imbalance. Often it's because women produce an excess of estrogen, the hormone estrogen, and lining similar to the lining of tissue in the uterus grows in the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, and other organs. This causes lots of pain and lots of bleeding. So when you do surgery, what the doctor does is to temporarily take out these cysts and growths. It doesn't really tackle the problem. And when you have a hormonal imbalance, this can come back over and over again. The growth can come back every month, because the issue is the hormonal imbalance. It's not the growth. The growth is just a result of having a hormonal imbalance. So the other suggestion they give is hormone altering medication. So artificially your hormones are balanced through medication. But these pills have lots of side effects, and I certainly suffered from lots of adverse side effects, so I had to stop that too. So I came to a point where there was no real solution for me, because personally I didn't want to go for the surgery option, because it had to be done more and more every year or ever so regularly, and that was not an option for me. So what I wanted to do was find out how I can balance my hormones, because the cyst and the growth and the abdominal pain, the root of all that is hormone imbalance. And I was reading lots of books trying to find out how to balance my hormones. And incidentally, most of the common illnesses are caused by hormone imbalance: endometriosis, thyroid problems, PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, diabetes, and even cancer and heart disease can be prevented if you balance your hormones. So I found this book by Dr. Neal Barnard called Your Body in Balance. The book is called Your Body in Balance, Dr. Neal Barnard. He's a nutrition researcher and professor of medicine at George Washington University School of Medicine in DC in the United States. He does lots of videos, and he also has a website with lots of information on diet and nutrition that he gives free of charge, with experts from around the world giving information for free. I will link some of those videos, information in the description box, so please go and have a look. So what I followed and what I'm going to talk to you about is information that I got from this book. So what he recommended is to go on a whole food plant-based diet. It is, yes, a vegan diet, but when you say the word vegan, lots of people are put off. But it is, I don't eat any processed vegan food. All the food I eat is fruits and vegetables, and it's cooked from scratch. I mean, you have to invest in your health, and that's what I did. What I found out just after about 4 days of going on a whole food plant-based diet is that my bloating just stopped. It just completely stopped after 5 years of experiencing it. When it stopped, it felt like a miracle. So I really was excited, and I wanted to keep going. And I got into it in a big way, and I even started a channel because I was so excited after suffering for so long when it stopped. Also all this information is what I read in this book. Chicken, fish, eggs, dairy have no fiber in it. So fruits and vegetables have an abundance of fiber. And what you want in your body is, when there's excess hormones, for those excess hormones to end up in the toilet. And to do that, you need a lot of fiber in your diet. So if your main food is fruit and vegetables, you're going to get lots of fiber in your diet, and you're going to have you're going to go to the toilet regularly, and it's going to be of good quality. I mean, you have to talk about this, even though it's not something we like to talk about. And all the excess hormones that we create in our bodies is then taken out of your system. So chicken, for example, it has protein, of course, but it has saturated fat. Even white chicken, even chicken breast has saturated fat. And it has no fiber. So it's better to get your protein from another source. So I did find out that you can get protein from lentils. For example, black lentils have 26 grams of protein per 100 grams, half a cup of lentils. So that's just an example of how you can get your protein. All lentils and legumes are high in protein. They are, of course, less in protein than a piece of beef, but the beef has saturated fat. It has you are ingesting hormones when you eat meat. What I read was that the natural cycle of a chicken, for example, a chicken takes 2 years to become an adult chicken. And you would expect, when you go to the supermarket, that the chicken you see is 2 years old, but the chicken you would find, an adult chicken you would find in a supermarket, is just slaughtered at 6 weeks old. So how do they make a chicken that to grow that fast? It's given growth hormones. So when you eat that chicken, you obviously ingest those hormones. Let's talk calcium. One of the questions people ask when you're on a plant-based diet is, how do you get your calcium? And myself, like everyone else, thought that cow's milk equals calcium. But in fact, what I read was that cow's milk has calcium. It has 300 milligrams of calcium per 1 cup, 300 milligrams of calcium per cup. But so does collard greens. And so it has the exact same amount of calcium. Per 1 cup of collard greens, there's 300 milligrams of calcium. And I also found that kale has more calcium per calorie than cow's milk. the difference between green leafy vegetables, which are high in calcium, and cow's milk is that green leafy vegetables are high in fiber. It has no saturated fat. So if you're suffering from hormone imbalance related illness, remember that endometriosis is not the only one. Hormone imbalance related illness is very common in millions of people. PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, thyroid problems, diabetes, etc. You need to stop eating dairy, because the excess fiber that you get from getting your calcium from non-dairy sources will help you eliminate all your excess hormones. On the topic of protein, what typically is required by an adult is, they say, 0.8 grams per 1 kilogram of body weight. So if you say, for example, if you're 75 kilograms, you need 75 grams times 0.8, which is about 60 grams of protein per day. But the amount of protein differs from individual to individual and lifestyle. So, for example, if your lifestyle is that you go from sitting in front of a computer to sitting in front of the TV in the evening, you don't need as much protein as someone who is doing weight training and athletics and running. So it depends from body to body and lifestyle to lifestyle. But that gives you an idea of how much protein you need. So I did find out that 1 cup of lentils has, just normal pink lentils, has 18 to 19 grams per 1 cup. Quinoa has all 9 essential amino acids. 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds have 10 grams of protein, and it's also high in omega fats. Half a cup of nuts has 7 to 9 grams of protein. Nutritional yeast, which is found in all supermarkets, have 18 grams of protein, and the list goes on. So there is a lot of alternates to eating meat. So remember, when you don't eat meat, you don't eat saturated fat. You get the protein from a source that's very high in fiber and no saturated fat. So it's a better way for your body to digest protein. And I have read that there are lots of athletes, Olympians, that are on a vegan diet, and they get the amount of protein they require. For example, chickens, 90% of the chickens in the UK are grown intensively in intensive factory farms. So what does that mean? It means that thousands and thousands of birds are kept together in a shed, in what looks like a shed, and they're not allowed outside at all, and they're kept in a controlled environment. To prevent disease, they're given medication, because they're kept in such close proximity to each other, and they're given hormones so that they become adult chickens in a very, very short period of time. In 6 weeks, they go from birth to an adult chicken, whereas a natural lifespan is 2 years. So obviously, we ingest those hormones and the medication they are given. With regard to cows, their natural lifespan is about 15 years, but cows die in about 5 years because they're artificially inseminated their whole lifespan, and their body is weighed down by pregnancy after pregnancy. So these stressful living conditions also, because they are animals like us, and they have stress. And most of us, we have a dog or a cat, and we know that these animals have feelings, they have emotions, and they go through stress. But most of us have cognitive dissonance when it comes to pigs, sheep, and other animals that we eat. We don't think that they have emotions, or we switch off to their suffering. But the fact is, when they are in an assembly line to be slaughtered, when they are kept in such stressful conditions, they release hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, growth hormones, and myriad of other stress hormones are released into their meat. So when we do eat meat, we obviously ingest those hormones. So I believe that when I stopped eating meat, I stopped eating those excess hormones that come from industrial growing of animals in intensive farms. I mean, I'm not sure we could even call them farms. Uh, Please don't misunderstand me. I have utmost respect for farmers, but in today's agriculture, we have moved far from actual farms. In fact, in the United States, cows don't even see grass. They are grown. They are raised in non-grass fields, and the calcium is actually fed to them through their food. Incidentally, cows don't produce calcium in their body. It comes from grass because cows are herbivores, they are vegans, and they get their calcium from grass. And it actually comes from a plant. The original source of calcium is a plant. Finally, I'd like to talk about what I didn't expect and what happened to my body when I went on a plant-based diet is that I lost a lot of weight effortlessly. When I say a lot of weight, I mean I was never overweight, and going on a plant-based diet was not losing weight was not one of my goals. But I effortlessly lost very stubborn belly fat, and I have a scale that shows the percentage of fat and the percentage of muscle mass in my body. The percentage of fat decreased and the percentage of muscle mass increased. So remember, all my protein, not most of it, all of 100% of my protein is from plant-based sources now. And through protein from plant-based sources, my muscle mass has increased and my fat has decreased. So whatever the media and advertisements tell you that protein is through beef and chicken, it's certainly not my experience that I've gained firsthand in my own body. I feel another thing is that I feel a lot, because my hormones are balanced, I feel a lot happier. I don't have any mood swings. I feel much more energetic because my body is lighter. I can move a lot more. So it's the opposite of a vicious circle. So I have more energy, so I have more time, more energy to exercise, and therefore I have more muscle mass and less fat. And overall, it has been life changing for me to change my lifestyle. Not only because I suffer, anyone who suffers from endometriosis knows that you have to plan your entire life around the illness. So just stopping doing that, it was already an amazing result. In addition to that, to feel lighter, to feel happier, to feel more energetic has been one bonus after the other. But before I go, I like to talk also about another book I read. It's How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger, who's also another staunch advocate of a plant-based diet. Oops, I dropped that book. And he talks about other illnesses, and most of the most common illnesses like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, infections, high blood pressure, liver disease. Almost all of them can be prevented by going on a plant-based diet, and there is science-backed research. This research is new, that says that going on a plant-based diet can achieve that. Remember, in the UK, 1 in 2 of us get cancer, millions get diabetes and heart disease, high blood pressure. So, our diet definitely affects our health. So if there is just one person that listens to this video and considers a change in lifestyle, even for a month, just to check it out, I would be delighted. Thank you.